So we're going to move over to our next speaker, and our next speaker is from the Compass Group. Jyothi, are you there?
Yes, you are.
Yes, you are. Great to have you with us. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
Very good, very good.
How is
Very loud
COVID?
and clear. I'm sorry?
How is COVID pandemic keeping you? Are you still inside the room or starting having online and offline sessions?
Yeah, we're doing also some offline sessions now. So Thursday we have one again. Actually, it's also about smart buildings, but then it's just for people from the Netherlands and Amsterdam. So it will be in Dutch, but really looking forward to bring some people also in real life together. So, but this is also really nice.
It is, it is.
Do you have a presentation that you would like to share?
Yes, can I go ahead sharing my
Yeah,
presentation?
you can give it a try. You can share your screen, or you can also try to upload your slides, but then the file doesn't need to be bigger than 50 MB, I think. But you can also share your complete screen.
Yeah, that will be fine. So, is my visible? Is it visible?
Yeah, it's visible right now. Oh, stop. That was the wrong one. Remove. I need to add this one and that one.
Yeah.
Now it's visible. Yes.
Huh?
Well, happy to have you with us. I give you the floor. Here you go.
Thank you. So, hi all. I'm Jyothi Gupta. I'm very excited to talk about digital twins in smart cities. So, these days we all are hearing about what is digital twin. What are we actually trying to understand with digital twin? Frankly speaking, this word was coined by Michael from University of Michigan in 2002, and he was basically talking about the virtual representation of an object which is available around the world using the real-time data. Now, when I talk about real-time data, is the data we talk about streaming industry, data which we talk about, the data which is we are using from our mobiles on a live basis, because it's important for all of us to understand how we trying to understand the data, learn from the data, and with this data, we can come up with new predictions using the AI and machine learning algorithm. So if you see, there's a small visual on my screen wherein you can see the physical impact and the digital twin. That is, what are the history behind it? What is the CAD model? What is a real-time statistics? And end of the day, what are we really doing? We are trying to use the statistic models. We are trying to use the machine learning algorithms in order to use the virtual representation. Now, you all must be wondering how what is the importance of digital twin in smart cities? Smart cities, as in if I would say intelligent cities. So, smart cities is something that we all are aware. It is the city which makes the quality of life workable, the standard of living more at the higher level. Digital twin is definitely connect with the Internet of Things, that is the IoT. It talks about the fifth generation wireless system, that is the 5G connectivity. All data is stored on the cloud survey. Then what are we trying to use with it? We are trying to use the artificial intelligence, the big data analytics, how we try to compute the data with regard to the digital twin analysis. When we go ahead computing this kind of analysis, we need to keep in mind how do we actually visualize this kind of data with most of the powerful tool, as in the Power BI, the Tableau, and various other tools are available to visualize the data. I would say that programming would definitely be very helpful for you to visualize, and I would suggest Python with my experience about how you can use interactive plots for you visualizing the data. Then virtual reality, how are we trying to use the Xbox facility in order to visualize the data in which we can expect to see the global the paradigm of the technology. Now we all need to be aware when this data is collected, it is being visualized. What is the next step that we all do? We use algorithm. We use machine learning algorithms. We use AI system in order to predict the data. Why are we actually predicting the data? Now the question is, now it's important for all of us to understand that stimulation, artificial intelligence, collaborative computing is very much important for us in understanding the prediction. And when we try to predict something, we try to see how digital twin as an activity, as an overall city analysis can be predicted. So there's a plan that by 2025, a global technology user is being reaching, and there is a billion reach of 6.2 billion connected devices. So this is something, a very massive deal of construction. So when I talk about digital twin, how did it really originate from? How actually we are really talking about? So as I said, Dr. Michael from University of Michigan had done the research of the real space. Then from the virtual space, he went ahead understanding the data, and he came up with digital twin as a major concept that has been originated. This was the analogy that we go ahead with the digital twin, how actually it was predicted, what are the further examples that we try to know with kind of digital twins. I would like to highlight here. Now, when we talk about digital twins, we need to be very clear how are we trying to connect these kind of activities. So if you are aware and if you keep updating with regard to some BBC News and also with the development that's happening internationally, there is a lot of research happening on the labs front, as in what kind of examples are we really looking for? What is the environment the researchers are working? So to summarize, we could say that there are three levels of digital twin. First comes with 3D modeling and visualization. Second comes with the real-time monitoring of the data. And finally, predicting data analysis, data pre-processing, and finally the optimization of the data. Now, we need to be very clear about what is the platform that we are using for the Internet of Things, how the business solution is being identified, and what is the final prediction that we have all been generated. Because end of the day, when we have the 3D model with us, we have the real-time data that we are trying to identify what is the final prediction with regard to computing, with regard to collaboration, with regard to the blockchain facility. That is what's nowadays trending these days. So that is what we need to identify. I would like to put a point here. Digital twin is the new smart city. Now, when I talk about smart buildings, when I talk about smart city, this was definitely a point that is to be noticed, because nowadays or all over the country, people like to have the challenges in the data. Like we were just hearing a panel discussion that they were talking on how the data is being there with regard to the smart buildings, how the data could be used, it could be projected, and in what form it could be represented. So if you know, in United Nations in 2018 had estimated that 2015 the population of the whole world is developing in such a way that they are moving themselves to an urban development with the help of digital tool. They are trying to develop smart cities. They are trying to replicate how these kinds of development is being seen. So these are few of the visualization that's been sourced from. I will try to halt for a few seconds on this slide, wherein I would try to take you what are the layers wherein we try to develop. So first, as we all know, it is a terrain with what we start ahead with smart cities. Then we try to analyze the building form, that is the building information modeling. That's a BIM industry. Now, when we talk about the building information modeling, we talk about smart buildings. We talk about buildings which are technology connected. Then we talk about the layer 2. Layer 2 talks about the infrastructure. We talk about how the infrastructure, how the organization structure, and what are the facilities that's available and connected across the structure. Now, it's very important for us to understand the three layers. Now, the third layer that we come up with, the movement of people and the goods, that is the mobility. Now, when we all know, mobility is a very important part for all of us to understand with regard to the sources with regard to the connectivity from one form to another form. And the next layer that we talk about the data. We talk about sensors, we talk about connected device, we talk about technology. So what we talk about is smart city. So smart city is all of us favorite. And why do we talk about smart cities? Because there is technology, there is data that we all monitor and visualize. Then finally that we come ahead, we talk about stimulation of the data. When we talk about stimulation, it's the virtual representation of the city in a way that it is digitally available. That is why we talk about digital twin is playing a very important role in smart city. So with this, I think you should all have an augmented approach about what we actually talk about smart cities, how the smart city plays a major role with having virtual reality, that is digital twin. Not only the physical buildings or the objects that need to be presented, we also need to monitor and understand the sensors that is connected to humans and the technology that is being oriented. Now, when we talk about digital, we talk about blockchain, we talk about ethics and computing. We need to not forget that DTC, that is the digital twin city, is a very important part that plays in smart cities technology. Now, this is an example of smart spaces, whether we are talking about or we are connected to a smart city or a smart station, or whether it's a hospital that we try to connect. Definitely our home needs to be smart. Smart airport from which we are trying to travel. What are the smart malls that's available for us to go and do our hands-on file, or finally the smart offices where we all work. So, end of the day, what is a digital twin and how it is connected with the real-time smart cities? So, the digital twin, as we say, it is more about data in the virtual reality. When we talk about data, we talk about virtual reality as in how the real-time data is being monitored. Now, when we talk about real-time data, we talk about data analysis, we talk about stimulation of data, we talk about artificial intelligence and the optimization that's being used in this kind of data. Now, it's very important for all of us to understand how the real data, that is the smart cities, is being using this virtual data in order to have a better future or a better projected analysis that we all are aware about. Now, the next important thing for all of us to understand is how the smart cities is collaborating with the digital twin physical virtual reality, whether it is Rotterdam's heart of the city, wherein they talk about zero emission buses, they talk about connectivity, they talk about mobility, they also try to analyze different aspects of coordination from the top down approach. I will try to stop here and give an example of New York City. Now, New York City is being committed as a most digital city because of the four main targets that it has been achieved. One is the accessibility, then the open environment in New York, the engagement between the people, and finally the industry development that's happening in New York City. Now, you come ahead with the next city that's come up in US, it's San Francisco. Now, when we talk about San Francisco, we talk about the zero waste that they have come up with 2030 target and how they are trying to achieve. Now, this is a small slide that will help you to understand where and what are the bottlenecks used for digital twin or smart cities or smart buildings, or whether we are talking about the accessibility or what is the main part, what are we actually talking about. So whenever you heard of GIS, that is the Geographical Information System, or the BIM, that is the Building Information Management, the IoT, that is the Internet of Things, or the drone images that is being virtually being seen, what kind of data is being analyzed, how do you try to cloud it, what are the autonomous vehicles that is being identified, and the research is working on it, the AEC applications, the CAD and the city GML by one of the South Korean temple. So this is few examples of the BIM modeling, wherein BIM is being used to identify the clashes in the buildings and to see if there is anything that could stimulate and analyze before the building is being built. So a virtual reality building is built using BIM 360, BIM modeling with softwares like Revit, Navisworks, and various others, software which supports this kind of BIM technology. Now you talk about the integration of GIS and AEC. Now, when we talk about GIS, we talk about what is the data on the location wise, how the data is being represented, and in what way the resources is collaborated. Then we talk about the integration of city GML and the 3D GIS in the web browser. What are we really trying to do? We're trying to do the point data analysis. We are trying to see the cloud integration, and finally with the help of WPS we try to integrate this kind of system. So some of the examples that I would try to show you on the digital twin is a shipbuilding model, which you can see the shipbuilding management where the 3D model is being used in the virtual reality to examine the project. Now this talks about the vehicle monitoring system. How do you monitor a vehicle with regard to the accessibility, with regard to the mobility, and with regard to the manufacturing industry? Then we talk about the research-based facility. Now, when we talk about research-based, we talk about the facility management that they have come up with. What is the so that's come up with Antarctica Research Center with regard to this project. Then you talk about the Japan industry, wherein they talk about the advanced industrial science and technologies. Then they come up with the open Indo map, how the connectivity between the open Indo maps happening, and then goes ahead with the modeling with regard to the bridges, with regard to the infrastructure, with regard to the network of spaces. So finally, when we come up with what we have learned with the help of digital twin. What are the smart spaces? What is the main visualize that we all agree with? What is the 3D that we all try to understand? And in future, what do we actually see? The objects, the indoor, the outdoor, the static, and finally the sensor that's available with us. So with this, I would like to open the forum for more questions so that we can have a good round of discussion. So here we go. Questions, please.
See, yes, hello, I'm back again. So how do you see New York was a great example you talked about?
Yes, so New York is one of the most, I would say, digitalized city that I was just mentioning. And the four main attributes, the parameters that they have been highlighted, that is the accessibility. Then it talks about the open environment that they are trying to connect. Then engagement, people engagement, how democratic they are, how they connect, understand each other, and how they develop in various aspects of growth, whether it's corporate, whether it's in commercial, or whether it's residential. Then comes the fourth aspect is industry. Now the similar lines, how New York is grown, even San Francisco is working on zero waste analysis. And if you have heard of sustainable development goal with the agenda of 2030, that is why I was just listening to the previous speaker and I was eager to know how are they trying to target this global warming. Because if you attended that COP26 that was organized from Glasgow, and they were talking about how sustainable, how global warming our earth is trying to develop, and what is the climate each and every country needs to work on. So this would be my personal view, and I would suggest that everyone start working on priority to be sustainable. In what way are we saving our country, our earth, so that we can see a better future for our kids and the young people?
Yeah, which other city do you really like that is bringing it to the next level?
Sure. So as I am from London, University College London, I have done my post-graduation, and being there for 3 years, I understand.
It's not London. Is it?
True. So there are some good and bad points in it. So I would not comment on that, but I would say I like that place because of the history behind it, because of the heritage, and they have tried to maintain it well. So in that way, I would definitely say the about 200 years or 300 years, they have all kept it inside a small box of museum. So if you like that kind of perspective, so I would definitely suggest that you need to have a walk through the in UK streets of London. So that would be my personal effect. But definitely, I would not recommend to be a top smart city. I would go ahead talking about South Korea, Seoul, Or I would talk about Singapore, which is one of the best connected IoT, blockchain, and also engaged city. They are not only developing themselves, but they are also having different actors that is coming all over the world to work on the data that Singapore is generating. So I would say with that technology, not only me or from other part of country, but we are trying to use Singapore as a template and see our country to grow on that lens. So in that way, I would say that Singapore, Seoul, if you talk about Tokyo, how are we trying to learn from the zero waste technology that they have done? If you have seen the Tokyo Olympics that they had planned for, Fujisawa was a very mobile smart city that created only for Tokyo Olympics. Because of the pandemic, there was a lot of hindrances that happened, but the development of the country grew because of these kind of activities. One more thing before I conclude, I would also talk about Expo 2020 in Dubai. So Dubai is exponentially and grown in such a way that the growth has been tremendously highlighted in not only in India, but also in countries in Asia, in London especially. So people are looking to places wherein, because the whole Dubai is grown on sea. It's a water body. So how is a country like that growing in such a way with such a small time? So that trend of analysis is also being identified.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your lovely insights, and I wish you a good day there in London. I hope to see you back soon.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. And thank you so much for the team who was helping me throughout the journey of being part of Global PropTech. Thank you and be
Thank you
safe.
very much. See you soon. Bye bye.
Bye.